A quick Google search of ketosis may leave you thinking that carbohydrates are the only reason that you're overweight, or that if you are in ketosis, that calories don't actually matter. But what does the science really say? Let's dive in. Hi everyone, Floyd Meyer here. Today we're going to be discussing something at the heart of the obesity epidemic, and that is what is causing people to become overweight or obese, and do calories actually matter? So there are two main schools of thought. One of them is basic thermodynamics, and so most of us have heard calories in, calories out. And so if you are taking in more calories than you are burning off, then you are going to end up gaining weight. And if you are taking in less calories than you burn off, then you are going to lose weight. And this isn't just burning off calories from exercise. This burning off of calories also includes your basic resting, your basal metabolic rate. It also includes something called NEAT, which is your non-exercise thermogenic activity, and a couple of different things, but altogether, those are going to determine how many calories you burn off in a day. And if you take in more calories from any type of different sources, it doesn't matter if they're from fats, from proteins, from carbohydrates, if you're taking in more calories than you are burning off, then you are going to end up gaining weight. Now recently, and this has been the standard for decades, now recently there has become some controversy and there's been another model put forward, and that is the carbohydrate insulin model of obesity. And this has been really pushed into the spotlight by a couple of different people, one of them being an author, Gary Taubes, who has wrote a couple of best-selling books on this topic, as well as multiple proponents of the ketogenic diet, whether this be medical professionals or lay people, people that are just really interested in the ketogenic diet. So this insulin carbohydrate model, what they're basically postulating is that if you are eating carbohydrates, that is going to cause your body to release insulin. Your body naturally releases insulin when you take in carbohydrates, but also with proteins, and it is going to help you to get that fuel out of your bloodstream and into the cells. You have to secrete insulin so that that fuel can be utilized inside of the cells itself. Now, when that happens, you are essentially opening up your fat cells, and so the foods that you are taking in, the carbohydrates that you're taking in, and then also because if you are eating other foods with those carbohydrates, those calories are going to selectively be put into your fat cells, and they're going to be stored as fat. Now, if those calories are then stored as fat, then you don't have as much that's being utilized to be creating energy for your body, energy that you could then use to, think creative thoughts or go running or do your job, all of these different things. And so that activates a lot of different hunger hormones, and it makes you kind of perpetually hungry. And so you can imagine if you were taking in food and it was being selectively put into your fat cells, not utilized for energy, and you were eating more, that would then cause you to become overweight or obese in the long term because you would continue to eat food. Now, it makes a lot of sense, when you think about it. I understand how people can come to think this, especially when you read these books, read these articles, and listen to these people. I myself, even as early as 3-4 years ago, I completely had bought into this idea. It made a lot of sense to me. I remember arguing with my fiance, she's a registered dietitian. I would be arguing with her about things like, saying carbs, fat doesn't make you fat, carbs don't make you fat, and calories don't matter. But, luckily I kept an open mind and I continued to look at the research to try and figure out, what is actually going on. And the problem with this theory is that when you look at epidemiological studies, this theory makes a lot of sense. If you look at people that are reporting how much food they're eating, how much calories they're taking in from carbohydrates, those people are more likely to be overweight. So it makes a lot of sense when you're looking from epidemiological studies. But when you actually do a well-controlled clinical trial where you have people inside of something called a metabolic ward, which means that you have the participants, they are actually living in a specific area where you are controlling all of the food that they are taking in, all of the calories that they're taking in precisely. There's not any extra chances for them to eat extra snacks or to skip meals. When you actually do a well-controlled study, this theory completely falls apart. So say we have two individuals, they're going to be living in one of these metabolic wards. One of them is going to be eating a high carbohydrate diet and the other one is going to be eating a high fat ketogenic diet. If they are both eating the amount of calories that would help them to lose weight, so say they're both eating about 1,800 calories, which for these two individuals are the same size, same activity level, this would cause them to lose weight. They will lose the exact same amount of weight regardless of where their calories are coming from, if their calories are coming from fat or if the majority of their calories are coming from carbohydrates. So this theory just does not actually hold up when you do well-controlled scientific studies. And so it makes a lot of sense, and I understand why people would end up thinking this. Like I said, I myself thought this was the way that this was true, but unfortunately, it just really doesn't pan out when you really do well-controlled studies. So calories do matter 100%. If your total calories are low enough, then you will end up losing weight regardless of what macronutrients you are taking in. Now, that's not to say that all calories are exactly created equal, because their effects on you can be very different. So let's say you are eating something like Pringles, which has been specifically designed to be hyper palatable. So they have high amounts of carbohydrates, but you also have refined carbohydrates, high amounts of fat, and you also have high amounts of salt and sugar. So you combine all of those things together, that's going to make it hyper palatable, and it's going to hijack your body's ability to regulate how much food you're eating. So that's where the phrase, once you pop, you can't stop comes from. They literally are hijacking your body's normal cues that would tell you to stop eating. So you just continue to eat and eat and eat, and it becomes very easy to increase your total calories above what would make you gain weight. So then versus if you are eating something like a single type of a macronutrient, if you were eating just potatoes or just a steak or just a bunch of avocados or guacamole, it's going to be much, much more difficult to overeat on those types of calories regardless of where they're coming from. So really the thing that you want to watch out for is those combinations, the high carb, high fat, high salt content. Those are going to be the hyper palatable things that are going to make you end up eating more, which is going to increase your total calories. So I hope that this has been helpful. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Make sure that you guys are subscribing. Make sure you're following so you don't miss out on any more great content. So again, this is Floyd Meyer reminding you to eat better so that you can do more.